We all know the trope. Virtuosic musicians get in the studio, the recordings are made quick and dirty. In a single night, lightning is captured in a bottle, and a hit is made almost instantaneously.
I write Satisfaction in a dream, basically, in bed. We decided to keep that take, but it was real luck.
It was totally spontaneous. I mean, it certainly wasn't planned. It was peculiar.
3 or 4 like huge songs in a day.
This is certainly one way that recordings can come together. On the other hand, sometimes records can take years, even decades, to be made to reinvent an artist's sound and character and create something timeless. This video is a case for that second scenario. Why you shouldn't get discouraged about that backlog of 100 songs sitting somewhere in a folder. Sometimes the things we make take time to age and mature. My name's Jackson. I'm a singer, songwriter, and producer, and I just put out a song that took 6 years to make. This video is a different style of how-to, where I'm going to be breaking down 6 different versions of the same song created over 6 years. It's a story about creative blockages and pushing through them, taking time to hone your craft, about finishing projects, which is something that we musicians tend to struggle with. In making this video, I also found kind of an archaeological record of my own journey as a producer, but over the course of a single song. And I thought that would be an interesting thing for other songwriters, producers, instrumentalists who are somewhere in that process of recording their own music. We all know the age-old story of the tortoise and the hare. Here's a case for when the tortoise beats the hare in music production. Let's start with this song.
Sweep me under the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that's changing.
So I wrote this song when I was in college, and I was in a songwriting class. And one of the things we had to do for that class was write 2 songs and record them every week, which was a big task. But something that can help with writer's block is having prompts for your songs, which doesn't sound very sexy, but it can be a good way to just kind of get the ball rolling. So focusing on the chords, the prompt was to have a single drone note, the whole song, and then have harmonics changing around that. So what that looked like for me is I'm in an open D tuning. So the D is always in the bass, and then there's chords changing underneath it. And then I flipped it around for the choruses, so now we have a single note that's more like the melody, and the chords are changing while keeping that note in it. So that's just kind of a cool way to give your brain a challenge to kind of get out of usual chord patterns you might fall into. The second prompt was a lyric prompt, and that was focused on choosing objects around your room. You make a list of objects in your room, and then you find a way to incorporate that in the song. Pretty basic, but it just gives you some more words to kind of latch onto. So for me, the first thing I thought of was the rug I was sitting on. This song is called Sweep Me Under the Rug. And the other objects I chose were envelopes, TV, solo cups, just household items. This is what the first verse sounded like.
Sweep me under the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that's changing. Treat me like the envelopes you know you're never gonna open, but you feel like saving. And chisel away all the gray, dust it off, and take a look at this feeling. You got something to say, but it's been chipping away at your sense of freedom.
Alright, so I think the best way to do this is kind of just to go through each iteration of the song and kind of break down what's happening in each one. What I was trying to accomplish in the production, maybe what was lacking. So the first time that we did this song was back in 2020 when it was first written, the first version of it. Alright, so we have opened up this session now. This is usually what my demo projects look like. It's just whatever I can get down as quick as possible to get the ideas, the paint onto the canvas, and then you kind of mess with it after. So here's what it sounds like.
Sweep me under the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that's changing. Treat me like the envelopes you know you're never gonna open, but you feel like saving. But it's true that you won't break.
Alright, right, so let's break this one down a little bit. You can see the drums here is just a Logic drummer. The slow jam kit that I then played, I guess with MIDI. Acoustic guitars, they were live recorded. Bass that was live recorded. And then Logic clavinet, which is what that looks like. You got a Logic electric keyboard Wurlitzer, some arpeggio synths, and a pad synth. These two are actually probably the most unique part of this project because I don't think they ended up making it into the final version. But listening back, I kind of like the sound of them. So I wanted to kind of give the chorus a very different atmosphere, feel like you're being brought into a different kind of world. And through the various versions of this project, we'll see how I tried to amplify that in different ways, successfully and unsuccessfully. Lastly, we have the lead vocals, which are just kind of quiet, sweet vocals, tripled. I think at that time I was doing a lot of this triple lead vocal with 2 doubles panned slightly left and right for this kind of soft Elliott Smith kind of sound.
Sweep me under the rug.
I think it actually works pretty well for this version of the song. Ultimately, the reason that this didn't get put out, I think, is just because it felt like a demo. It was my first foray into producing my own music completely. And I loved the song, but it just didn't feel right at the time. But let's go to the next one. All right, for this next one, we are only jumping 1 month into the future when I did another version of this song. This one, I think I probably used the song for another class project, which was maybe an engineering thing in the studio. So I ended up tracking all of these instruments live with some friends, and it gave the song a totally different sound. All right, so immediately opening this project here, we've got a very different color scheme going on. You can see that most of these are all audio files. I don't think there's any MIDI recorded in this session.
Sweep me under the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that that's changing. Treat me like the envelope. Won't break away from me.
It's cool, though, that everything was played live. I mean, this is a real Rhodes, a real Juno, a real Moog being recorded. So that was definitely a big learning experience. And it was nice to kind of have done it in MIDI and then bring it into a live setting. Obviously, I don't own any of those instruments. This was at a nice recording studio. Ultimately, I think it's the performances that are suffering here. I think we maybe had 3 or 4 hours to do all of this. Honestly, a cool experience and probably informed a lot of the production decisions that I wanted to make after recreating the demo. All right, now we're going to jump 1.5 years in time and go to 2022. Okay, so immediately we've got a very different color scheme going on. And this one, it seems like I color coordinated every vocal take, which I definitely quickly abandoned because this looks disgusting.
Sweep me under the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that that's changing. Treat me like the envelopes you know you're never gonna open, but you feel like saving.
Okay, so also very different now. We're kind of going into a different genre, and I like that all of these are pretty live performances. The drums are clearly live recorded. They could definitely use some work, but it feels like I stripped back a lot of what was there originally to go for this more like minimalist indie pop thing. Most different is this synthesizer lead, which I think at the time felt right. I don't know if I love those sounds. Another thing that really stands out from this version is this new bass line, which kind of gives the song a much more like groovier, kind of in the pocket feel. I know I held on to this version for a while, thinking I was going to release it, but I feel like the lead vocal performance again just didn't really hit. Let's check out the next version. Now we're just going to jump 1 year in time to July of 2023. All right, let's see what this one sounds like.
Sweep me under the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that that's changing. Treat me like the envelopes you know you're never gonna open, but you feel like saving. But it's true that you won't break.
All right, right, so definitely a much more minimalist, kind of stripped back version of this song. Yeah, we've got some of these yacht rock elements like the guitars and a little bit more of a soulful thing. And I like the vocal performance. I think it just seems like maybe I lost interest. It looks like I really only got about this much done of the song before I was kind of gave up on it for the time being. All right, so now we are jumping to March of 2025, which is when I picked up the song again. Honestly, the original demo was a sound that I have kind of returned to for this latest record that I was working on. That one kind of had a sort of rootsy Americana Southern rock feel, and I wanted to kind of lean into that the most. Yeah, this is insane just seeing all these different projects. It's the exact same song.
Sweep me onto the rug. You say you've never been in love, but I think that's changing.
Okay, immediately much closer to the final version, although for some reason it's up a half step. So I changed the key. I think I changed the tempo slightly. And this vocal off the bat is sounding much more true to the song than those past ones. But let's keep going.
But it's true,
All right, so this is much closer to what the finished product ended up being, and this is really probably something I just should have stuck with. I can tell you why I didn't use it in the end. It's probably because of these drums that I made for it. So this is just a collection of samples that looks like I tried to chop up to give it a more live feel, and I think ultimately it just felt too mechanical to me. But pretty much all the elements that are here ended up in the final song. One thing is MIDI bass. It's because there was a time when I moved to Los Angeles that I didn't own a bass myself. So that's probably part of it. So we made one more session. So here we go. Sweep Me Again. Again in all caps to signify that this is final and this is getting to be too much. As you can see, everything is looking a little bit more uniform. I decided no colors in the end, just all blue. It helps my brain now, somehow. We're going to spend a little more time because this is actually the song that is coming out. We're back to MIDI. We've reverted from the first. We went live recorded drums in a studio, drums recorded in my apartment, chopped up samples, and then samples put into a sampling machine that we then played as MIDI to sound like real drums. So that's what this is. And I ended up with samples that I actually really liked. This is something that I actually would advise for people to do if you don't have the money to hire a drummer and you have several years to perfect your craft, or not. Just try it. MIDI drums. Get some good sounding samples. You can do Splice or something else downloaded, and then play your drums. Actually play them on a keyboard, and then adjust them until they sound like an actual drummer playing them. And you might get something that sounds like... Maybe a drummer would know, maybe a really close listener would know, but most people don't know that this is fake drums. And it serves the song. That's all that matters. We've got the bass from the first one. This guitar now is, I think, maybe live tracked through an amp.
open, but you feel like saving.
That sounds a lot better. We've got banjo. We have the pads. The synth pads have come back from the first version and the indie pop detour and ended up making it in. Really subtle, but just adds a little bit of texture in those parts. The organ was kept. Still just a Logic organ that sounds pretty cool. That's all you need. And I think this is one of the UAD Wurlitzer simulations that I ended up playing. The vocals are a little more fleshed out. I spent a lot of time getting these takes that I really liked, and then we added some little sound effects in the middle parts. Overall, sounds like this.
Love, but I think that's changing. Treat me like the envelopes you know you're never gonna open, but you feel like saving.
Ultimately, not that different from the song 5 years ago, but in this new time and space, this new me that needed 5 years of growth and life experience to get there, this song feels much closer to home, and it feels like a big accomplishment that we made it this far and actually found a way to finish it. It can happen. It can happen. The point of this video is really just me advocating for that do-it-yourself method. That's the kind of musical culture I grew up with here in Philadelphia, and in an industry that changes as quickly as the music industry, I think learning the basics of a bunch of different skills can actually shield you from a lot of that turbulence. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for collaboration, and I think that that is probably equally as important as the do-it-yourself. But this is all to say that the tools are accessible if you have the patience to sit with it, learn, and grow as an artist over time. And I think that reduces a lot of the barriers of entry. If you want to check out the final version of the song, you can follow the link here. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back sometime.